In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
It's for the wrong cause. We got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom unless you pray to Jesus Christ.
All right, folks. Well, this is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. It's Thursday night. That's right. We've almost made it through another week. Short week for me, thanks to the situation of getting the new command center set up. But I am live with you and will be for the remainder of this week. And this will be our new start time from now on our live broadcast right here on the Spark Radio Network and K98 Talk, where we are now heard every Monday through Friday at 11 Eastern, 10 Central. And this episode is going to be America Off the Rails, the WTF Chronicles. We have so many things to talk about today, but as we normally do, I'm going to take just a moment to give a shout out to the affiliates. Going to start with the newest one first, Rebooting Liberty, run by a friend of mine, Jared Day, who just started his network and graciously agreed to run my show over there, along with a couple of others that we run over here. And then, of course, now in the order that they were originally added, we have AM/FM 24/7, where the show airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 Eastern. We also have SHR Media, where the show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 Eastern. Then we have Leading Edge Radio Network every Monday through Friday at 7 in the morning. And then, of course, we have Red State Talk Radio, where the show can be heard every Sunday. And now, of course, we have the cream of the crop, the crown jewel, WNJC 1360 AM, our first official affiliate that is an FCC-regulated station, where the show can be heard for the moment every Thursday at 2 Eastern, I believe. So 1 Central, but we are working on expanding programming over there as quickly as possible. So I want to give a quick shout out to all those folks. Now, at this point, it is about time for us to go ahead and pay some really quick bills. So we'll be right back with you here in just a moment. Because you know how we roll around here. We come on, we say hello, we talk for a while, and then we come back in a minute. So we'll be right back with the start of the show. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, welcome back. And again, we are live. This is America Off the Rails at our new start time, just a few minutes past the hour of 10 right here in the new command center. If you do listen to us on the East Coast, of course, it is 11 o'clock where you are, a few minutes thereafter. If you're listening to us on the West Coast, it's still really early where you're at, you lucky bastards. But anyway, so, lots of stuff to talk about today. We're going to kind of hit a little bit all over the map. And again, the title of this episode is The WTF Chronicles, for those of you that might be listening on TuneIn or iHeart or one of the other places where you can't necessarily see the title. This show, if you're listening to us on a replay, of course, then thank you for tuning in. I do want to take a second to say something. I don't do this often enough. This happens to be something that has always been kind of a dream of mine, I guess is a good way to put it. But not only that, but now it's gotten to the point where it's kind of becoming kind of a calling all of its own. And that's partly because of you folks that tune in every single day. So I want to thank you, all of you who take the time to make this show a part of your routine. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's twice a week, maybe you catch every single show. Regardless of when you listen or how often, thank you for taking the time, because especially in this day and age, there are a plethora of choices you could make as to who you could be listening to and where you could be getting your information. So the fact that so many of you take the time to hang out with me a few times a week, it means the world to me. So I just want to take a second to say thank you to everybody. And that is probably the last nice thing that you're going to hear me say today, because the world has gone completely crazy. Case in point, the Obama administration has recently launched an attack on the part of the application that asks you if you've been convicted of any type of a felony. They want that particular box removed. Now they've gone even a step further. Not only do they want you to not have to disclose whether or not you've had any type of criminal activity in your past, they basically, even if you are, say, below the age of 18 when you are involved in a crime, when they used to call you hooligan, thug, juvenile delinquent, all of the above, now you are to and shall forever be referred to as a, how exactly did they put it? Hang on, let me fire up the brain cells. What was it? A criminal, legally involved, or justice-involved youth. That's what it was. A justice-involved youth. So for all of you parents out there that, you got to take your lead from the president now. You can't call your drug-dealing children juvenile delinquents or thugs or hooligans or whatever else you're going to call them that may not be fit for radio. But now you have to call them justice-involved youths, because it's so much nicer. It sounds so much more civilized to say justice-involved youths. Am I the only one that even saying the words justice-involved youths, all of a sudden I'm having a My Cousin Vinny flashback? The youths in question, I'm sorry, the what? The youths, Your Honor, the youths. What exactly is a youth? Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. The youths in question. Yeah, I mean, anytime anybody starts throwing around the word youth, for some reason, I always think of Joe Pesci in that movie. But, I mean, it's just one of those things that I never can forget. Speaking of guys that you don't ever seem to be able to forget, we have a new sound clip that I actually didn't mix in when I'd planned to, because from now on, when my introduction is given, I've given permission for my producer to make a little bit of fun of me, because for those of you who haven't seen my picture on Twitter, please don't go look, you'll be glad you didn't. But I am a little bit of a fat guy, so from now on, when I basically introduce myself as Rick Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, we're going to have this playing in the background just because.
That guy in a little coat. That guy in a little coat.
Yeah, not because I don't like myself or anything, but why not have, why not? All right, so bear with me for just a moment. This show is going to be a little different than usual because I have folks returning home a little bit outside of schedule. So I'm going to have to take a couple of breaks to make sure that things run as smoothly as possible. A little bit more than I usually want to. But bear with me for just a moment. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Then we'll get back and actually get started with the show. And I apologize for the extra delay.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane, because, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British Airways? It wasn't Jet. It wasn't Jet Poo? Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There was an old woman who flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost, for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Are you conservative in a world of liberal?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not alone. Hey, I'm Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, and I'd like to invite you to tune in each Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, where I'll break down the events of the week, and together we'll learn about how they affect you. So, sit back and get ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly of talk radio right here on K98 Talk.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form codex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. And we do, as I said, have lots and lots and lots of stuff to talk about. But back to what we were talking about before I had to take a little bit of an unscheduled break. The Obama administration is basically proving yet again that it's lost its ever-loving mind. They've now decided again that, if you apply for a job, you shouldn't have to disclose whether or not you have a criminal background. There are reasons background checks have existed. And I'm sorry, if you break the law, then there should be certain things that it causes a hardship for you, and that should just basically be the way that it is. And it really is about that simple. But don't worry, the WTF Chronicles will not simply focus on the Obama administration. But of course, I always want to lead off there because for all as a big thank you to all the low information voters that have now given us nearly 8 years of this. I'm sorry, I almost said a word that isn't fit for terrestrial, and I never know for sure what shows are going to go over there. So, for the almost 8 years that the nice crowd of low information voters have given us of the commander-in-chief extraordinaire, who can't seem to fight his way out of a wet paper bag, but yet wants to make fun of Republicans for not being able to deal with Putin because they can't handle CNBC. So, Mr. President, I have a question. If you're the first one to point out, how those evil Republicans wouldn't know what to do with Putin because they can't handle CNBC, I didn't see you standing in line to go knock down the door to go talk to anybody over at Fox News. Actually, I pretty much remember a time when you basically had the White House stamp of denial for Fox News. So it seems a little interesting to me. But speaking of Fox News, there's something that I heard about first on there yesterday, and I talked about it on last night's show, and then some of you probably heard it today if you are in the Philly market, because the show that I did last night actually aired there today this afternoon. But as promised, I did find the commercial in question, the one where basically there are some children that are saying not so nice things about Donald Trump. Now, I will be the first one to tell you I am no fan of Donald Trump, but let's remember, the same group that gives us PCBS and drama, and we have to be careful what we say about who we say and when we say it and how we say it, and gives us the thing that we opened the show talking about, where now if you are a juvenile delinquent, you are a justice involved youth. Well, they thought this commercial was pretty hilarious, and sadly it took me forever to get it ready because there were lots of things to edit because they're not fit for radio. But here, we're going to listen to pretty much the whole thing. There is a bit at the end that I won't be playing, but it's going to be about a minute and a half's worth of it.
Hola, Donald Trump! Screaming, get out of my country! Republicans use offensive words.
So here's a few of our own.
Fuck you, racist fuck!
We're Latino kids born in the USA!
And we've got something to say!
I'm Rosa.
I'm Ricardo. My friends call me Rick. But you keep calling me Anchor, baby?
Wow, racist when you say Mexican immigrant,
a rapist, murderers, and drug dealers.
You know it's racist codes for words like
Spicks, wetbags, and beaners.
And you have attacked people
for speaking Mexican in this nation.
It's Spanish, idiota.
Maybe a little less hairspray and more education. Millions of working Latinos would be deported.
If you get your loco way, if you're in the White House for America, it would be nothing but
bad hair days. Yo, Trump, you may be high in the polls.
Thanks to change your racist suckers, but you're all going to have to come from me.
If you try to deport my abuelita, motherfuckers. You see, the Constitution makes me a citizen.
And you hate that because I'm brown.
And you say you're a patriot?
But you want to tear the Bill of Rights down.
I'm an American.
Born in the USA.
This is my home.
You can't take my rights away.
If you don't like our Constitution and what it stands for, get the fuck out of my country.
There's the door.
It's the 2016 presidential election.
Get a t-shirt or a bumper sticker and get involved. With the hashtag.
All right, so there you heard the majority of that commercial. So I have a question. How is it the same crowd that says that we can't say words like retard and you can't call someone who made bad choices as a kid and was actually in trouble with the law, you can't call them a juvenile delinquent anymore. You have to call them a justice-involved youth because it's kinder, it's gentler. But that same group can put together a commercial with children that would make sailors blush. I'm a little confused by that. Is it just me? I mean, feel free if you're listening to this on a replay. You can always hit me up on Twitter. Let me know if you think I've lost my mind. Of course, you can reach me at _R_OKC. You can also find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. You can shoot me an email at rick@k98talk.org. Basically, there are so many different ways to get a hold of me, and at some point when we finally get everything set up the way I need it to, because we are getting the new command center put together, eventually I will start opening the phone lines again, but right now there's just too much juggling to try to do all of that. So, for the moment, back to what we were talking about before. Is anybody else completely offended by that commercial? I mean, really? I'm not a language guy. I mean, you've heard, I'm sure, some of the shows that are on this network. I'm not one of the guys that says, hey, you should watch your language. I'm really a First Amendment kind of guy, but there really has to be a bit of decorum sometimes. I mean, that's like the shows that I know are gonna go over to terrestrial. I usually try to mind my P's and Q's a little better. The folks that have no interest in doing that and have already told me as much, I really don't harp on them too much about the language that they may or may not use. But at the same time, there are just lines that should not be crossed. And in my estimation, one of those lines is having children. One of them sounds like maybe she's 5 or 6 years old, maybe using words that would make my grandmother blush. I have a big problem with that, and it's not because I have an issue with the words in general. I have an issue with basically exploiting children, which is what this is. I mean, and again, this is coming from a guy who is no fan of Trump. Most of the folks involved with my station are not fans of Trump. We never really have been. I think Trump is probably the closest thing that we've ever had to a Democrat running on the Republican ticket. And so I have major problems with Trump. And just to make sure we're clear, and I will probably say this every day until we find out what's going to happen, there is no way that Donald Trump is getting my vote in a primary. If it comes down to it, and he's the one that I have to pull the lever for in the general, then I will hold my nose and do what I have to do, because at that point, even Trump would be better than Hillary or Bernie, but he is not my first choice and not our best choice. That being said, I would be just as offended if these were children of conservatives that were using this type of language talking about President Obama. There are things that should not happen. If this was an ad made by conservatives, the liberals would be having a fit. This is the same thing that always happens, and it's what we touched on a little bit yesterday. It seems like everybody's fine with it as long as it's their side poking the fun or breaking the rules. Then once everything changes, all of a sudden when the other side gets a turn, the other side has to be straight arrow and perfect. That's crazy. It's also hypocritical. Because the simple fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. We should hold each other to the same standards regardless. No matter what, those same standards should be held. And it really is that simple. But now, I mean, come on, let's listen to the beginning of that again. I won't play the whole thing, but I just want you to hear the very beginning of it again.
Hola, Donald Trump! Screaming, get out of my country! Republicans use offensive words.
So here's a few of our own.
Fuck you, racist fuck!
We're Latino kids born in the USA!
And we've got something to say!
I'm Rosa.
I'm Ricardo. My friends call me Rick. But you keep calling me Anchor, baby?
Wow. Racist when you say Mexican immigrant,
a rapist, murderers, and drug dealers.
You know it's racist codes for words like
Spicks, wetbags, and be nurse.
And you have a...
So let's dissect a little bit of that, because there's a couple of things that are kind of important there. So because there are a large number of folks that have broken other laws in the country they came from before they illegally come here, we're not allowed to point out the fact that a large number of the folks that are coming across the border are rapists, murderers, and drug dealers. Because doing that is basically the new code words for you're just calling them spics, wetbacks, and yada, yada, yada. No, it's calling them what they are, which is criminals. I'm sorry. If your family came to this country illegally, then I have a problem with that. I also have a problem with the fact that people are using our laws when it comes to what are termed anchor babies to make sure that their children are allowed to stay in the United States. Do you know that up until this last month, when the Chinese government changed their mind about now all of a sudden they're getting to the point now where they're going to start allowing families to have 2 children? Do you know how many Chinese families found a way to get to America to have their second baby, and because they got here before the baby was born, they were granted dual citizenship? Now, I have a question. Is that really a good idea, that we basically allow anyone who can get here to have their child to suddenly automatically that child becomes an American citizen? Is that really a good idea? And I'm not trying to ask that question to be mean, and I'm not trying to ask that question to sound racist or anything else. I'm simply asking the question. Is it time to do away with the anchor babies? I mean, that's exactly what these kids in this video were talking about. Their parents likely did not come here legally, otherwise they wouldn't be considered anchor babies. I mean, maybe it's a conclusion, maybe somebody jumped to the wrong one, but let's be really honest here. With everything that's going on with our immigration policies and our issues with all of these things that are going on in regards to how completely screwed up our borders are, is it really a good idea to keep allowing this anchor baby policy? And why is it such a bad thing for the American people to try to tell our government that we want to look at our immigration policy and seriously consider making some changes? The last time I checked, our government works for us, not the other way around. So why is it suddenly a bad thing when we decide we want to make changes to our immigration policy? But let's be real. The government doesn't want changes to our immigration policy. I don't care if they have a D behind their name, and I don't care if they have an R behind their name. In total, and this doesn't mean every single individual one, but in total, the majority of the folks that are in D.C. right now, they want immigration reform, and not in a good way. And they want it for a multitude of reasons. If they're Democrats, they want it because they think that, much like Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was quoted behind closed doors as to say that the reason he turned against the Democratic Party and started forcing the civil rights movement was, in his own words, if I can get this passed, these N-words will be voting for us for the next 100 years. There are folks in the Democratic Party that see this as their chance to have their Lyndon Baines Johnson moment and secure a voting block from now until eternity of the Hispanic crowd. And before anybody starts going, oh yeah, but the Republicans don't want that, bull. They don't want it for the voting block because they know they're not going to get it, but they want it for the cheap labor. Have I mentioned that I'm a really big fan of history? A lot of our history when it comes to labor movement, really not so good. Anybody remember the Chinese slaves that helped build the railroad? Let's face it. A lot of the things that happened in this country happened because we were able to find ways to exploit other people. So, are we supposed to forget about that? Or are we supposed to pretend it didn't happen? What exactly is it we're supposed to do? Let me tell you what it is that we're not supposed to do. Not continue to repeat the same mistakes and allow a bunch of people that we don't know anything about to come in here just because they're willing to work for pennies on the dollar, when there are plenty of people here that need those jobs whether they want them or not. Let me tell you one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to the American people nowadays. The simple fact of the matter is, everybody talks about how, there are certain jobs that the American people don't want to do anymore. I'm here to tell you that no matter how much you want to disagree with that statement, it pretty much is true. There are a growing number of people in the American populace who feel they're too good to do certain jobs. I see it and I hear it voiced every single day. Never mind the fact that I'm 42 years old, that I've done everything from flip burgers to scrub toilets before I got where I am today. And the simple fact of the matter is I did it because I didn't really have any other options. But at the same time, I didn't go, well, I'm too good for that job. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think everybody has at least probably a bout with that. I mean, I'm not saying that eventually we don't overcome it. But there's a very large segment of the population that is not overcoming it. They're simply allowing themselves to be controlled more and more, more and more by the government by continuing to get more and more involved in the things that the government's willing to give them in exchange for them not working. There are so many people that are gaming the system right now. And I'm not just talking about food stamps. And I know all you liberals that listen, and yes, I know you're there, are talking about the fact that the waste are thinking about right now the fact that the waste and the abuse on the food stamps is about 1.5% of our overall waste and abuse issue. And I understand that, but can we not start somewhere? I mean, yeah, so it's a drop in the bucket. Can we still not fix it? Can we not start somewhere? Because maybe if we start cutting a few things, maybe we can cut a few more things. Can we do away with the annual budget increases that are built in? Here's an idea. Instead of increasing the budget every year, why don't we do what Sean Hannity's talked about and remove a penny for every dollar that we spend? Do you realize with the amount of money that this country spends, how much money that would actually save? Just that one item? But we can't do that because, oh my God, Republicans want to cut funding. Oh my God, Republicans want people to starve. No, Republicans want to make people understand that they cannot be dependent on the government because the government might not always be there to take care of them. And that is exactly where we're heading. See, some of you have been wondering where I've been going for the last few minutes, but I promise I may take you on a few twists and turns, but it usually connects to the stories that I want to talk about. And the issue that I want to talk about next is the TPP. That's right, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. If you haven't started looking into this document, I do strongly recommend that you do so. Because for anybody who thought that the New World Order and all of these things about the folks in the government trying to take control away from us average citizens was all tinfoil hat and crazy talk time, you really need to look at the TPP. Because simply put, it is a nightmare. And it is basically, the only way that I can describe it is a backdoor way into the New World Order. I'm not saying that it's going to get us there immediately, but it's much like Obamacare being the framework to destroy our current medical system so the government has to come in and pick up the pieces. The TPP will do that to the rest of our government structure so that we really have no choice but to start putting ourselves under the jurisdiction of a world court. And ultimately, it's going to make Congress completely powerless. Which on the face of it doesn't necessarily sound like a bad thing until you dig a little deeper. The TPP is some really scary stuff. Now, if you want to find out more about it, I do suggest that you can go, like I said, to Twitter. I'm on there all the time. You can actually find an article that I retweeted from one of the other hosts this afternoon that actually talks about the TPP and the nightmare that it was, and probably most likely forever shall be. Because it's completely insane that we have a government that is wanting to do these type of things. Not only is it insane that the government wants to do these type of things, it's insane that we're basically letting them do it. I mean, and I'm not even trying to talk to be ornery. I'm just saying it's insane that we're letting our government do these things. Nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody seems to care. And yet we're giving away more and more and more of our authority. Sorry, I was looking for the article to see if I could pull it up, because there was a little bit about it that I wanted to read, but now all of a sudden I can't seem to find it. Oh well, I know it's there somewhere. That's alright, just go to my Twitter page, you will find it. Actually, hang on, here it is. I knew I saw it somewhere. So now it's taking forever to load. Okay, so you can actually find the information at medium.com / the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And basically it goes into a bunch of different areas. There's the table of contents, the preamble, the initial provisions and general definitions, national treatment and market access for goods, rules of origin and origin procedures, textiles and apparel, customs administration and trade facilitation, trade remedies, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, technical barriers to trade, investment, cross-border trade and services, financial services, temporary entry for business persons, telecommunications, electronic commerce, government procurement, competition, state-owned enterprises and designated monopolies, state-owned enterprises. So, I was going to open the preamble, but that state-owned enterprise thing kind of has my attention. So, Chapter 17, State-Owned Enterprises. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, levels the playing field for American workers and American businesses, leading to more made-in-America exports and more higher-paying American jobs here at home. By cutting over 18,000 taxes different countries put on made-in-America products, the TPP makes sure our farmers, ranchers, manufacturers, service suppliers, and small businesses can compete and win in some of the fastest-growing markets in the world. With more than 95% of the world's consumers living outside our borders, TPP will significantly expand the export of made-in-America goods and services and support American jobs. So that's kind of the little blurb that's at the top of every chapter, pretty much. TPP State-Owned Enterprises SOE chapter ensures that businesses, regardless of ownership, compete fairly through enforceable rules to ensure that foreign-owned SOEs compete on the basis of quality and price, not on the basis of discriminatory regulation, subsidies, or favoritism. This will ensure that their trade and investment activities do not place private American businesses and their workers at a disadvantage. Overview, coverage. TPP State-Owned Enterprise Chapter provides broad coverage of SOEs that are principally engaged in commerce activity at the same time to avoid an outcome in which a government could easily evade its obligations. By delegating its authorities to an SOE, it includes rules requiring SOEs that operate under delegated authority to abide by the obligations of the TPP agreement. So basically, just to kind of give you a general overview after scanning through a little bit of this, hang on, let's read through some of the new features. TPP goes beyond previous agreements in addressing the distortions SOEs can cause in the market, and it is the first trade agreement, FTA, to seek and address comprehensively the commercial activities of SOEs that compete with private companies in international trade and investment. Most of the key elements in the SOE chapter are new, and we expect them to blaze a trail for work on this issue throughout the Asia-Pacific region. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and back up, because that didn't really explain very much. But just the preamble of this thing alone completely kind of scares the crap out of me. So let's find out if you agree or if I'm as crazy as I think I am. Which I never denied being crazy, just for the record. Okay, so this is the preamble for the TPP, like the preamble of the Constitution, where it outlines everything and everybody gets the warm fuzzies from we the people in order to form a new perfect union. So this is the preamble of the TPP. The parties to this agreement resolving to establish a comprehensive regional agreement that promotes economic integration, to liberalize trade and investment, bring economic growth and social benefits, create new opportunities for workers and businesses, contribute to raising living standards, benefit consumers, reduce poverty, and promote sustainable growth. Sounds great, doesn't it? Strengthen the bonds of friendship and cooperation between them and their peoples. Build on their respective rights and obligations under the Marrakesh Agreement establishing the World Trade Organization. Recognize the differences in their levels of development and diversity of economies. Strengthen the comprehensiveness of their businesses in global markets and enhance the competitiveness of their economies by promoting opportunities for business, including promoting the development and strengthening of regional supply chains. Support the growth and development of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises by enhancing their ability to participate in and benefit from the opportunities created by this agreement. Establish a predictable, legal, and commercial framework for trade and investment through mutually advantageous rules. Facilitate regional trade by promoting efficient and transparent customs procedures that reduce costs and ensure predictability for their importers and exporters. Recognize their inherent right to regulate and resolve to preserve the flexibility of the parties to set legislative and regulatory priorities, safeguard public welfare, protect legitimate public welfare objectives such as public health, safety, the environment, the conservation of living or non-living exhaustible natural resources, the integrity and stability of the financial system, and public morals. Recognize further their inherent right to adopt, maintain, or modify healthcare systems. Anybody else get a little bit of a red flag when let me go over that again. Recognize further their inherent right to adopt, maintain, or modify healthcare systems. Affirm that state-owned enterprises can play a legitimate role in the diverse economies of the parties, while recognizing that the provision of unfair advantages to state-owned enterprises undermines fair and open trade and investment, and resolve to establish rules for state-owned enterprises that promote a level playing field. I'm sorry, that's another one of those things that just kind of makes my skin crawl every time I hear or read level playing field, because that's a buzzword for the left, and it just basically means we're going to screw with the system till we think we fixed it. I'm sorry, most of the time when they mess with it, it's usually even more broke than when they started. Promote high levels of environmental protection, including through effective enforcement of environmental laws and further the aims of sustainable development, including through mutually supportive trade and environmental policies and practices. Protect and enforce labor rights, improve working conditions and living standards, strengthen cooperation and the parties' capacity on labor issues, promote transparency. Dude, I cringe every time I read that word anymore. Am I the only one? I think the Obama administration has destroyed the word transparency for me, because now anytime a government or a government agency or a government document uses the word transparency, all I want to do is run away screaming and hide under a table till they go away. Recognize the importance of work that our relevant authorities are doing to strengthen macroeconomic cooperation, including on exchange rate issues in the appropriate fora. And it just keeps on coming. The hits just keep on coming. Okay, so for those of you who don't know much about the TPP. I do encourage you to find that document, read it over in its entirety. I promise you will be as terrified as I am by the end of it. Whether you are conservative or liberal, the TPP is a bad idea. And the fact that so many people in D.C. want the TPP should tell you exactly why and how it is such a bad idea. Because these folks don't give a damn about us anymore. They don't care about the American public anymore. They don't care about the American country anymore. What they care about is making sure that they secure their power base as they continue to try to transition away from our current form of government. You don't believe me? Look at everything again, piece by piece, line item by line item that has happened under this administration, and you tell me that somebody somewhere is not systematically trying to dismantle our country, and I will call you a liar to your face. It really is just about that simple. Now, one last thing I want to touch on, and then we are actually getting to the point where it is about time to start winding down the show. Wow, where does the time go? I mean, I know I had to take my break a little early, but this show has pretty much just flown by. But there are a couple other things that I wanted to touch on, and we will probably save some of those for tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, the last half of the show, we may actually have a little bit of fun. I think on Friday night, since I've gone late night, I think the last half of the show, we might take things in a bit of a different direction and talk about maybe some conspiracy theories or maybe even some interesting UFO stories. I mean, it may not happen every Friday, but at least a couple of Fridays out of the month. Going to try to take things in a little bit of a different direction. But one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about before we get out of here tonight is the fact, and I don't remember if I talked about this last night, which is why I'm bringing it up tonight, but did you know that there are already refugees in Texas from the Middle Eastern conflicts? Because I didn't until I read the articles. So yeah, there are seriously already refugees in Texas, numbering in at least 1,000 that I know of. The Secretary of State and the State Department want that number to go up at least 10 times from the documentation that I was reading earlier. I'm trying to see if I can find it again just to make sure I can actually give you the right numbers, because I have a good memory when it comes to reading things, but I really didn't. I only perused this, so I don't think this is necessarily the article that I was looking for. Nope. But it does kind of tie together, because that big stabbing in California, you know, the one where the guy went on a rampage with a knife, you hear anybody calling for banning of knives yet? No? Anybody? Yeah, me either. Alright, so anyway, the headline from Fox News: Sheriff, California student stabber, or California University stabber went on rampage after being kicked out of study group. The 18-year-old freshman who stabbed 4 people on the University of California Marquette Wednesday intended to shoot people, attack a policy officer, and target a specific person who kicked him out of a study group. The Marquette County Sheriff's Office announced late Thursday. The findings come after a coroner performing an autopsy on Faisal Muhammad found the suspect's manifesto on his body, according to Marquette County Sheriff Van Warnke. Muhammad listed the intended targets by name in the manifesto and planned to tie students to desks while drawing out police to steal a gun and shoot people, Warnke said. He also planned on using the petroleum jelly found in his backpack to squirt on the floor as a slip and slide for anyone entering the classroom, which, according to Warnke, he thought would allow him to be in a position to steal a gun from a responding police officer. His plan went haywire because people fought back, Warnke said Thursday night. He got so befuddled at the activities that happened, it took the script away from him. Warnke stressed Wednesday's stabbings were not terrorism, just a grudge by an angry teenager. But Muhammad did praise Allah in his writings. He added, though, that the writings about Allah would be, like him, a Christian referencing Jesus, since that is the religion he practices. Okay, so not necessarily the article that I wanted to talk about, but it is kind of relevant to what we were talking about. Yet another Middle Easterner who, regardless of whether you want to think it was terrorism or not, basically went on a rampage. Was it terrorism? I don't know. But is it further proof that this particular religion seems to graft onto the crazies, or vice versa? I'm sorry, I believe it's true. Because I don't know very many people that are practicing devout Muslims that claim to be good people that would do the things that some of these people are doing. And I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. To simply put, it's crazy. And it's happening all the time. I mean, that was what, a stabbing, you know? I mean, is it relevant that he was a Muslim? I don't know. Why wouldn't it be, though? With the way things are today, why wouldn't that be relevant? And the reason I bring up the fact that he's Muslim? Hey, I found the article I was looking for. Maybe that's why. Refugee Resettlement Watch. First Syrians arrive in North Texas. If you haven't, and this is Dateline April 11, 2015. If you haven't already, you will be seeing more warm and fuzzy stories like this one in your states. As the Syrian refugees begin to arrive, we have taken in 682 so far, and this, of course, was from April the 11th, so no telling how many are there now. As the FBI says they cannot properly screen Syrians, the U.S. State Department seems to be still telling the media that 10,000 will be here soon. The contractors want 66,000 by the end of 2016. From WFAA Dallas, which implies only a handful have arrived in Texas. However, Texas has received at least 86 so far, and as the top resettlement state in the nation, it will receive the most Syrians. No surprise that the refugee industry puts its most appealing refugees, like these cute girls, out for PR campaigns. The mainstream media eats it up. 8 Syrian refugee families call North Texas home right now, 4 in Dallas and 4 in Fort Worth. But the Syrian American Council said more on the way after the U.S. State Department agreed to accept as many as 10,000. So, let's just recap as we close out the first edition of the WTF Chronicles, which will probably be a Wednesday thing from now on. My schedule's been thrown off a little bit more. So closing out the inaugural broadcast of America Off the Rails, the WTF Chronicles, let's recap. We have the Obama administration basically deciding it needs to be wrong to disclose whether or not you've had any type of criminal activity in your past when applying for a job. They've decided we need to rename juvenile delinquents to judicially or justicely involved youths. We also have the PC police who basically get mad at you for saying anything untoward, putting out a commercial that not only downs Donald Trump, who again, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but not only downs him, but has children that look to be maybe 12 and 5 years old using language that would make a sailor blush. We have the TPP, which is under consideration right now, which, if you do any digging at all, you will come to the same conclusion that I've come to, that it is basically a backdoor way to finally get this country into what everybody wants in the world, which is a new world order. If you don't believe me that somebody somewhere has wanted this for a very long time, let's look at the history of how Israel was actually founded. There is a very There is a very specific scripture in Revelations that specifically says that the generation that sees the reformation of Israel will be the one that sees the return of the Christ. Now, I have problems with that in several different ways, because I'm wondering if, since this was kind of brought about by force, if that still holds true. But that's just my musings. But the simple fact of the matter is, there have been people at work to bring about what they think will trigger both the caliphate on one side and the return of Christ on the other, now for over a century, if not longer. And it's time that we face the facts that there are people moving things and working pieces behind the scenes, whether we want to admit it or not. And the simple fact of the matter is, we have seen behind the veil in this presidency more than we ever have, because they're not hiding what they're trying to do anymore. They're doing it right in front of us because they know nobody's paying attention anymore. And even if they are paying attention, who the heck cares? All right, well, that is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. Again, our first foray into the WTF Chronicles. Again, tomorrow, since this will be my first late night Friday, we will probably spend the last half of the show having a little bit of fun. I guess maybe next Wednesday may not. No, I guess never mind. That's Tuesday. I was going to say Tuesday, because there is a debate. We'll actually be doing some post-debate recap. I'm going to see. I'm not sure about the new time frame. I haven't checked with Patrick yet, who usually likes to come on and talk post-debate with me. Haven't really checked with him yet about whether or not the new schedule is going to work for him, but we will see about having at least maybe one or two people on to talk about some of the stuff that happens in the debate. But at this point, folks, I have got to go ahead and get out of here. Usually it's because I'm supposed to be making room for other folks, but the good news is, sliding so late, I'm now the one that typically rounds out our night here while I start working out, trying to figure out who's going to play in the overnight hours once we get settled in and completely ready to go again. But as of right now, I am Rick Robinson. This is America Off the Rails, and if my computer would ever cooperate with me, I would gladly roll the outro so we can get out of here. Alright, so at this point, that is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. Thanks to everybody who tuned in with me tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the couple of changes that are being brought about to the show now that we're going late night. And I will be back with you tomorrow night live. Don't go away.
Both did everything you earned by breaking your backs. We're gonna redistribute when we make our big tax. Hey, sit me down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.